We gotta talk about this Diddy case, and I don't think this is the last time we're gonna talk about it.
It's
But
not, bro. It's we're in the first week and
yeah,
there's already been so much unveiled.
hmm
I really think that we don't know exactly what we're getting into with
so
this.
I'm gonna give quite. I'm gonna give a recap here, trying to make it brief. I encourage all you guys to check it out because this is actually one of the cases that I think is very serious and
Very.
something that we should all check out. Now we're
Yep.
gonna have, we're gonna say our thoughts, have a little bit of fun with this, but in
Hmm.
general, you should keep track of this case and learn and keep in mind of what's going on because this
Hmm.
is very important, not only for Diddy himself, but the whole industry and what we
Of
thought of it as
entertainment
a
in its
whole.
entirety.
Yes.
In its entirety.
Good service.
Its entirety.
Everyone knows who Sean Combs is, Bad Boy Records
Hmm.
guy, everything like that. There's a lot of ways I can go about this. A simple way to do it is, a long time girlfriend named Cassie,
Yep.
and there was a lot of shady things with that in terms of the deal that she signed under Bad Boy Records,
Hmm.
how he took advantage of her and everything of that nature. And of course, there's some domestic violence that is
Hmm.
associated with that as well.
Hmm.
So she's one of the main characters in this, right?
Right.
And then the other side of this, which is a bigger issue, is that Diddy has always been known as a partier. And part of that is that this is becoming a bigger thing where people were doing more than just partying. They were taking
Hmm.
an aggressive amount of drugs and
Hmm.
having these very crazy orgy parties with all of each other. And with that, Diddy, from what we're seeing, was also filming all this and using this as a form of blackmail for the
Yep.
richest and wealthiest people. So all of your favorite artists, all of your favorite celebrities, and even all of the well-known politicians,
Hmm.
they could have some legitimate dirt on their hands with this case and how this is going. So it's very interesting. We're finally getting into the trial and hearing first testimonies, and that's where we're at right now. So
Yep.
with that being said, let me hear your thoughts. What are your thoughts in this first week?
Can we just before I go, can we take a deep breath? Like, can we
Sure.
take a moment?
Everyone, take a breath. Exhale.
I wanted to do that because the weight of this matter is so dense. And it is, and to Hale's point, this affects the entire industry. This has some of the greatest names in sports, the greatest names in music, in theater, in politics. There's a vast amount of the people we've grown to love and know of all this time that are involved in this mess. The technical term freak offs, also known as FOs, as I've seen in all the different, all the different lingo they're putting out for it. It's vile. That's honestly, I wish there was a word I could think of that was more intense. And the thing is, like growing up, like I never really listened to P Diddy. He had some songs. I mean, he was never like, at least in our youth, he wasn't like an artist. He became more of a producer, and he gave us some of the greatest artists that we've come to know and love today. Um, and what's funny about the whole thing, like this whole thing with Cassie, is I remember when the debut single came out, Me and You, it was a hit. And I was in love with Cassie. That was my celebrity crush for like 5 years. I was like, this woman is gorgeous. This song is fire. It hit like, I think, number 3 on the Billboard charts first week. And it was her first single. She was like 19 years old. And the craziest part was, I was like, and I even talked to my cousin about this still, up to a couple of years ago before we saw her crawl from under a rock. What happened? What happened to Cassie? She had that one hit, never heard from her again. And we're like, what, what all transpired with that bad boy deal? And here we come to find out as a civil lawsuit gets fired that all or filed, not fired. All this mess was coming from under the sheets with her mess with Diddy, the freak offs, the parties, the drugs, the domestic abuse, and it is the gravity of the situation is crazy. So I'm gonna go into my point. I'm gonna go into my point. First of all, I want to say, Sean Diddy Combs, you are a sick man. You are a sick individual. That is the things I've heard of, the things I've read, the recaps I've been watching through, absolute vile acts. It's inhumane. I don't understand how you sleep at night. I personally don't know. That's all my own personal opinion. I hope most of you share that opinion. If you don't, probably seek help. But with that too, like it's another piece where you got to look at this from Cassie's lens. It's like to go through this for so long, to feel so helpless, to feel so lost, and one day finally build the courage to say, I'm going to do something about this. Kudos to her. She's married now. She's got 2 kids, a third on the way, and for her to go in this courtroom this week and actually sit down and relive these scenarios, all these different situations. Um, One statement stuck out to me that I was looking through with one of the recap videos. I think this was day one. And one of the first questions she was asked was, do you remember the freak offs? Do you remember each of the freak offs you were in? She's like, that'd be impossible. And she was asked, well, why would that be impossible? 2 reasons. One, the vast amount of that they were. 2, because of the amount of drugs that were consumed. And that's where we dive into the drug abuse that was happening. She even said at one point in her testimony that freak offs became so often that it was a full-time job. It overtook her spot in her music career. That's why we saw her fall out the music, because she was doing these on a regular basis, like a 9 to 5 job. And I'm not going to get into the details of what they entailed. You guys can look that up for yourself. I don't even
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to.
Please look it up. Honestly,
Honestly do,
please.
because
It's insane.
like it's crazy, because I know like months leading up to the trial, like everybody had their thoughts, everybody had their takes on, what the freak offs consisted of. Diddy's this crazy monster, whatnot. And like I don't want to say it was fun and games, but it was a trending topic that it was, funner to talk about, the Diddler situation. But as we get into the logistics and the actual facts of this, you will see it's very intense. It's very crazy what this man had going on behind those closed walls. And to then see that come, full center to the domestic abuse, the tape at the hotel from 2016. I mean, just downright crazy, man. And it's like she was going through that. I think she said that was like one of the first times she experienced the abuse. But I mean, to see that happen, I mean, I'd be terrified if I was her as well too, going forward from that. But I mean, altogether, it's. I wish I had words prepared for this. All I can think of, my mind is scattered. It's hard to hear half the things that are being said. It's hard to imagine half the things that are said. There was a point at one point where they actually showed photos from the freak offs to like identify Cassie and other members that were involved that worked for Diddy and whatnot, other women, of course. And it was so graphic. The judge had all monitors, cameras, phones, anything with the monitor or camera on it had to be taken out of the courtroom. And only the jurors, Cassie, the judge, and Sean Diddy Combs could see it because it was that graphic. Like when it gets to that point, like it's man, there's not a word in the dictionary. I don't think. I will say this, and I will close my statement with this. My feelings, my thoughts, how I think this should go, and this is graphic. I'll say this: Sean Diddy Combs at this point should be sentenced to death, and incinerated and put into the cement build of the next prison that goes up. Like at that point, that's the only way I could see him being worth anything. Which is crazy because again, I never really had a big take on P Diddy. I didn't really care for him. I knew he made good music. He brought us great artists in the past, but to see all this happening behind closed doors and to know so much the industry was involved too is disgusting. It's crazy. But I'll stop because I'll keep going if you let me
Yeah,
to. So go
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, so what I'll do, I'll start off serious and then I'll try to end on a
Mhm.
light kind of joking note, even though there's not a lot to
There's
joke
not a
about
lot to
this.
joke about.
But I don't want to make this too serious for the entire episode, even though it is very important. Here's what I'll say. I think there's a lot of givens. Obviously, he's a monster. It's crazy, all the stuff that was involved in that.
Mhm.
Now, here's what people do. And I want to make sure this is clear. And I see this a lot, especially with history, because I'm a
Mhm.
huge history person. I see this a
True.
lot. Now,
Very
here's
true.
the thing. On the route to figuring out the truth and discovering the truth, we can't get to a point where we discount, like we can't forget who the villain is in
Right.
this. Why as we're seeking the truth in this.
Right.
So I do agree with you. I do want to be as honest as I can about this as well, though.
Mhm.
Is that number one, Cassie's case is a civil case, which is very strange to me. And more
True.
importantly, as crazy and vile as all of her stuff is, I do have to give out the counter argument that is like, how much did you actually were a participant in this?
True.
Because again, now let me be clear. We understand Diddy's wrong. Everything he did in this was wrong. Like, I'm not discounting Cassie at all the grief and traumatized and everything that she's going through, right?
Mhm.
In the path of seeking the truth, I want to lay everything out on the table,
Right.
but I don't want to get rid of the fact that we understand Diddy is a clear monster in this,
Right.
right? So the reason why I bring that up is that, and this will bring to my bigger point where it talks about the industry, is that yes, he was doing some crazy things, but why did you allow it for so long?
Very true.
Why didn't you say or do anything earlier? I know what a lot of people say, oh, he could have killed her, he could have did all this stuff. It's like, that's kind of the courage you have to take
Hmm.
when it's things that are this extreme. That's
True.
kind of what you should do. And that's kind of the risk that you should be willing to take.
Can I
And I
intervene
know
for a
that's not
second?
for everyone, but I just want to throw that out there
Hmm.
that I'm not saying Cassie is wrong for bringing this up or not guilty or anything like that. I'm just calling it for what it is. It's like, why were you letting this happen for so,
Hmm.
or why were you so complicit in that sense to where it seemed like, again, you had a job in this.
Right.
You had a legitimate job in this. Why were you taking it that part for so long
Right.
and then coming to this case? But go ahead. What was your side?
Two things I will say.
Sure.
Because she was asked a similar question, like a similar context of a
Yeah.
question in this, and her response was, and this was a heart-stringing response. I know this is one to play on the jury. I don't personally believe this entirely myself, but she said she felt like it was the only time she had with him because any other time they were out together and there was a million people around. Obviously, Sean has a big presence in the industry in itself, so I think that has some truth to it. But her claim was this was the only time she felt she could be with him or be close to him is in these freak off scenarios. That feels like a heartfelt response. That feels like a jury, like kind of like a tearjerker or whatever. I don't know how much of that I believe because you did have to play some part in this to cooperate.
Well, two things can be true at the same time. You can be
Mhm.
emotionally attached to someone, but you can also be willingly do the wrong thing.
True.
Those two things are happening coincide. So that's why I want to point that out.
Hmm.
Is that I feel for her. I think
Yeah.
this is a terrible situation.
Right.
I do want to point out though, there's a lot of people
Hmm.
that were just letting this happen now,
And
which is also just as crazy.
that's the other part I want to
Well,
say.
that's actually gonna be my second point in
Oh,
this. If you want me to go, yeah.
go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
'cause I had a way I wanted to tie this
Yep.
in,
Yep.
but
I
I wanted
got
to
you.
start with that. And the reason why I did was, again, the broader picture is there are so many people that are involved with this.
So many.
So many that not only let this happen,
Mhm.
but wanted this to happen
And participated
and
happily.
was happy to do it.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So I say that all to say Cassie's testimony is very important. This is a big piece of the puzzle. And he's charged with a lot of things, but the most important charge,
Mhm.
the most important thing in this is this RICO charge.
Yep.
That's the biggest thing that I want.
Yep.
I don't want this to end up being a jury that encloses Diddy.
Yeah.
Even though Diddy's a monster, we all recognize that. I don't want this to be only about Diddy,
Mhm.
and Diddy's the only one that gets indicted.
No, they got to.
I want everyone
They
to
got
go.
to dig. I
Everyone
need
needs to be
names.
brought up to, yes.
I need the Epstein list for Diddy.
Everyone needs to be
I
brought
need
up
the
on
Epstein
this.
list for
It
Diddy.
can't just be this is just all Sean. Let's throw away,
Right.
put him in jail, throw away the
Because
jail.
other parties are
Yeah.
responsible, very responsible.
Yeah. And um, again, when we're talking about the industry and everything, this needs to be brought up. This needs to be exposed.
Yeah.
We need to see what our heroes,
Mm-hmm. Are up to behind closed doors.
we need to know all this. These people all need to be held accountable. And then
Right.
once all that's held accountable, then yes, Diddy needs to go by firing squad.
Right.
Then
The firing squad.
yes, they need to put them in the chest and throw it out in the sea.
Well,
They need to get rid of them.
The other big thing that they have on the table, and this is what I was going to say a moment ago too, is that what they're trying to determine now in the trial, like the biggest like the biggest piece they're trying to unwind right now, obviously, and we keep saying this, Diddy's wrong, he's done some wrong, there is some crime that is present, but they're trying to understand what level of crime this is because a lot of what he's being tried for are state crimes. They're not federal. They're not for the state. They're not for the United States of America to fight him on. So it becomes a question of, was this just a sick individual or was this somebody that had power beyond what we could imagine? And I think if this goes as depthful as we anticipate it to, where we see so much of the industry involved, it can become that. That's a part where we see Sean locked away forever, I think.
Yeah.
And that's to your point with the RICO is that's the most important piece of this all is how serious is it?
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people are going to overlook that and murk the water with the whole Cassie situation, but I think it is bigger than that, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, the best way I can describe it is the easiest thing they can do is just charge the person.
Mhm.
And then from like the near side, from what we see, we think of this as like a group or a company.
Mhm.
It's bigger than that.
Yeah.
This is an institution.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a full-blown
That's
institution.
honestly the best way you could put it.
This is a Fortune 500 company.
Yep.
Related
Yep.
issue.
It is that big.
All over the world.
Literally.
This is what this is. So that's the best I can hope for. I also said I wanted to end on a lighter note.
Oh
So
boy. What have we got?
you know, how does this affect LeBron's legacy? Because
Hey, everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
No, he feels a way about Diddy. I just want to know if LeBron is on those tapes. How does this affect LeBron's
Bro,
legacy?
I will be so honest. I will be distraught, bro. Oh no, LeBron, it can't be because LeBron is like, and you're very aware. I'm a huge LeBron fan. I always have.
And you should be.
And love LeBron, everything he's done for the game. And what I've always loved about LeBron the most is that he was a star in the best ways. He was incredible at his sport. He became one of the best to do it at his sport. He was never in any bad paparazzi. He's a family man. He stays faithful to his wife. Like, he's never in the news about anything bad.
Yet.
If this is what tarnishes his legacy, oh my God, bro. This would be as bad as it could be. I would much rather him get caught at the strip club or something like that with a hooker or whatever, and then, Vanessa got mad and now he's put out for a week or something. Yeah, that I'll get over. This, I can't look at LeBron the same. I will be tore apart. God, please. Don't let it be LeBron.
Like I said, man, Jordan's the GOAT. Like, in all this, Jordan's the GOAT. Listen, I can handle gambling. You can gamble.
I can handle
I don't mind that. Hey, listen, you gamble, you smoke, you drink. Hey, I can work with that.
Oh,
I don't mind that at all. You can't do this other stuff.
no, bro.
So this,
not at all. Not at all.
But it needs to happen. I hope it does get out.
And
if
it does, justice needs to be served.
Yeah.
It has to happen. But I pray to God, it's not LeBron.